Tax Talk was created with the sole purpose of helping you as a resident or taxpayer in Lagos to understand the intricacies of tax administration within the state. We also help you better understand and appreciate the role of the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service LIRS. My name is Oyinlola Sale, and I'll be your host for the next 25 minutes or so. We kick off the show with business news. Don't go anywhere.
This is business news. In fulfillment of his promise and demonstration of love to market men and women, Lagos State Governor Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu has flagged off the distribution of 750 million financial intervention scheme tagged Lagos Market Trader Money for 15,000 beneficiaries. The 15,000 beneficiaries who received 50,000 naira each were drawn from across all the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria: Southwest, Southeast, South-South, North-Central, Northwest, and Northeast, but all residents of Lagos. Speaking during the launch of the Lagos Market Trader Money held on Valentine's Day at the Blue Roof, Agidingbi, Lagos, Governor Sanwo-Olu said the gesture will go a long way to actualize his goal of transforming the food systems in Lagos State and stimulate economic activities in various food markets in line with his administration's team's developmental agenda. The governor, while acknowledging the current economic hardship in the country, said the activation of such financial support will go a long way to improve the lives of citizens, and traders who will occupy strategic positions in the state food distribution network. Mr. Sanwo-Olu stated that Lagos State is aware of its growing population, which is now in the region of 24 million, and as such has been implementing key projects to promote the preservation, storage, transportation, and presentation of wholesome food to the populace to reduce food wastage and guarantee food safety. He said the beneficiaries were identified through a process aided by the agricultural field officers that partnered with market masters of each local government and local council development area across the state. Recall that Governor Sanwo-Olu, during the commissioning of the mid-level agro-produce hub Idioro Mushin on Sunday, December 17, 2023, announced a 750 million naira financial intervention scheme for Lagos traders tagged Lagos Market Trader Money for 15,000 traders across the state. Sanwo-Olu implored the beneficiaries of the Lagos Market Trader Money to make the best and judicious use of the grant in ways that will contribute to the economic development of the state. President Bola Tinubu is slated to inaugurate the long-awaited Red Line mass transit train on February 29, according to the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu. The disclosure came during the Lagos State Parking Authority Stakeholders Forum 2024 held in Lagos. The Red Line, a pivotal component of the state integrated mass transit system, stretches from Agbado in Ogun State to Onyigbo in Lagos mainland. The project aims to alleviate the perennial traffic congestion in Lagos, offering commuters a faster and more efficient mode of transportation. The Red Line rail, when operational, will convey about 500,000 passengers daily. Governor Sanwo-Olu highlighted the state commitment to addressing traffic challenges and emphasized the importance of the Lagos State parking policy in regulating parking across the metropolis. The policy established the Lagos State Parking Authority tasked with implementing innovative parking solutions. He underscored the collaboration between the state government and local authorities, recognizing the strategic partnership with the Association of Local Government of Nigeria in parking regulation effort. The forthcoming inauguration marks a significant milestone in Lagos transportation infrastructure, promising improved mobility and reduced commute times for millions of residents. With President Tinubu set to officiate the event, anticipation is high as the city prepares for this transformative development in its public transportation landscape. Mr. Sanwo-Olu had on February 1 hinted that the Red Line, the construction of which began during his administration, was exciting. He had written, quote, "I am happy to invite you when Mr. President Asiwaju Bola Tinubu will be commissioning the Red Line. We are still hoping to commission it within this February. We believe the Red Line will carry more passengers than the Blue Line." End quote. And that's it on Business News.
To help help you understand the issues of tax administration in Lagos State, we always bring on people with expert knowledge and a wealth of experience in the field. Today is not different. We will be examining the roles of consultants and audit firms in tax administration. To help us to do justice to that, we have Mr. Adeyemi Adediran, partner at Anderson. Anderson is an independent tax and business advisory firm with a worldwide presence. Thank you for joining us today, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's certainly my pleasure. And I'm sure by the time we're done, viewers will get a better knowledge regarding your roles and responsibilities, most especially within Lagos State.
Absolutely.
How has Anderson contributed to the landscape of tax administration in Nigeria? And can you elaborate on the strategies and mechanisms employed?
I think the first way we have done that is to actually make sure that our clients comply with the relevant provisions of the tax laws. I mean, if the clients understand the tax laws and they comply with it, it's easier for the tax authorities to administer. The other thing we do is to stay close to the to the legislatures, the tax authority, and all relevant stakeholders, so that we understand their thoughts in respect of tax reforms, and then we're able to contribute our views so that whatever changes they want to make to the tax laws, I mean, they can take into consideration our own views on those changes and makes it easier for taxpayers to comply. So I think in those two ways, we'll be able to contribute our own quota with respect to tax reforms and administration.
That's good to know. In the context of navigating gray areas within Nigerian tax laws, how does Anderson approach providing clarity and guidance to its clients while ensuring adherence to the legal framework?
Yeah, there will always be gray areas in the tax laws. That's fundamental. But what we do for our clients is to explain our own understanding of the provision of the tax laws and what the drafters of the law, what their intention was at the time of drafting the laws. And then we then ask our clients, to maybe ask or seek for a private ruling with the tax authority to understand their own views on those gray areas. Sometimes our views and the tax authority's views are maybe in conflict. In that instance, we advise our clients to probably seek judicial interpretation of those areas.
What is Anderson's stance on tax avoidance, and how does it uphold ethical standards?
Okay, tax avoidance is not illegal. It's a legal way of reducing your taxes. I think the reason why most people frown at it is because of the ethical issues surrounding it. For instance, if you and I are paying taxes and you hear that a billionaire somewhere is not paying any tax at all because of a tax haven or some restructuring that he has done, you will feel that you are contributing your own quota, and somebody that earns much more than you do is not doing anything at all. So people usually frown against such aggressive tax planning that are done by some taxpayers, but it's not illegal. In fact, there's a whole court case in the US, I think it's Evelyn and Gregory, where a taxpayer, Evelyn Gregory, did some tax planning, some aggressive tax planning while restructuring her business. And when she was done, she had huge tax savings. And the tax commissioner at the time in the US frowned against those tax planning that she employed and took her to court. When the matter got to the Court of Appeal, the judges said that, you can't stop a taxpayer from taking measures to reduce his or her taxes as low as possible. In fact, that there's no patriotic obligation, to pay higher taxes than you should. So taxpayers will always plan around their taxes using the provisions or the loopholes in the tax laws. That is constant. What I think should happen is that as long as the government continues to be transparent, or the government actually connects what the taxpayers pay to the social amenities that they provide, when the taxpayers are able to see that connection between the taxes that they pay and their improved conditions of living, then they will be willing to pay the taxes that is due. And then tax avoidance is going to reduce significantly.
Additionally, could you outline your principles and approach to handling instances of potential tax evasion, particularly if they were to conflict with the prevailing laws?
tax evasion is illegal, all right? So we always advise our clients to pay the right tax as at when due. It's not just to pay the tax, but you need to pay it based on the timeline stipulated by the laws. So that is a given. You need to pay your taxes as provided by the Constitution. And what I think is that it's even in the best interest of the taxpayers to do so, because there are stiff penalties in the tax laws. In some cases, there are even jail terms stipulated in the tax laws. We hear in other climes you hear about an artist that you don't see producing any song for a while, and then the next thing you hear is that the artist has been in jail for tax evasion.
Regarding tax audit reconciliation meetings conducted by the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, LIRS, what key roles does Anderson undertake in resolving tax issues for his clients with a tax authority like the LIRS?
So what we do is to represent our clients in those tax audits. So we'll explain the client's tax position to the LIRS, and we'll also explain the financial records leading to those taxes that are payable by the client to the LIRS. And I would say over the years, reconciliation has been a lot easier because I think the LIRS has actually done a lot of manpower development. So it's easier to sit on a table with LIRS officials to resolve reconciliation issues.
Mr. Adeyemi, your answers have been quite helpful so far, but we need to go on a quick break at this point.
Thank you.
We're going on a short break. When we get back, we'll pick up from where we left off.
Hello, sir. Good evening. How may I assist you?
I made a reservation for a room. My name is Ahmad.
Excellent, Mr. Amodu. A moment, please. You made a reservation for our deluxe suite for 2 nights. That will be 150,000 naira, sir. How would you like to make payment? Cash or card?
Card.
Okay. Thank you. Savings or current, sir?
Current.
Your PIN, please.
Thank you. You don't charge 5% consumption tax here?
No, sir. We don't do that.
Really? You're running a hospitality business and you're not charging 5% consumption tax?
No.
Hold on a minute. Hey, bro.
Alpha.
Yeah, I'm at an apartment in Ogba, and the receipt issued to me did not reflect the payment or deduction of consumption tax.
Oh, really? Thanks for the heads up. I will send a team to investigate.
I mean, they should be penalized.
Attention, all service apartment owners and operators in the hospitality business in Lagos State must charge and remit consumption tax to LIRS. Failure to comply is a contravention of the extant provisions in Section 9 of the HORC Law 2009, which attracts penalties as stipulated in Section 10 and 11 of the same law. Stay on the right side of the law.
Welcome back. We're still discussing roles of consultants and audit firms in tax administration. Mr. Adeyemi Adedinro, partner at Anderson, is still with us. You've succeeded in clearing a few things for me, and I thank you for that.
You're welcome.
With the aim of upholding operational integrity and given your involvement in the Lagos State tax system, how do you sustain adherence to international best practices in your advisory services, especially when addressing intricate tax issues involving clients and the LIRS?
Okay, for intricate tax issues, right? From experience, what we found out is that most times it's better to have a one-on-one conversation with the LIRS to discuss those issues, because we may be looking at the same provisions of the tax laws from 2 different perspectives. And when you exchange letters, you may not be communicating as effectively as you should. So most times we organize meetings with the LIRS, and then we're able to understand each other and resolve those issues. Moving away from that, for us, our own approach to resolving issues is, one of our core values is best in class, and we also have some kind of independence in our manner of approach with the tax authorities and taxpayers and other stakeholders, because we don't do statutory audits. So with that in mind, we're able to independently assess a situation and advise our clients accordingly. So sometimes our clients may also be in the wrong, and we're able to say, okay, this is what the provisions of the law says. this is what you have done wrongly, and this is how we can make amends. In other cases, we're able to go to the tax authorities and say, well, there's an unintentional or unintended error in this matter. Can we have a waiver and seek to comply going forward? Those kind of conversations have to be held to resolve those kind of issues. The fundamental thing that is in focus is to make sure that the taxpayer is compliant with the provisions of the tax laws, and the tax authority is unduly punitive, to the taxpayers. And at the end of the day, we are good for it. Yeah.
That's great to know. Are there international bodies or organizations that oversee or regulate the practice of Andersen in the context of its operations within the tax domain? Could you provide insight into the level of scrutiny that your firm undergoes in its consultancy and audit activities?
Just like you said when you were introducing me, right? Andersen belongs to Andersen Global, which is a network of independent member firms in over 172 countries across the world. So we are guided by the standards that are set by Andersen Global, and they conduct periodic checks from time to time to ensure that we are there with those standards. So when we are dealing with clients, when we are dealing with regulatory authorities, beyond the ethics requirements in dealing with those stakeholders, we have, I wouldn't say a higher standard to comply with, but I'll just say that we have Andersen Global to face, in conducting our affairs. So our documentations, our interactions with the various stakeholders have to comply with those standards such that we don't run foul of the law. So we are conversant of the kind of environment we operate in and the ethical requirements, But so on a day-to-day basis, with that understanding in mind, we ensure that we don't run foul of any ethical standards. Yeah.
That's great. Recognizing the proactive efforts of tax agencies like LIRS in promoting tax education, how does Andersen contribute meaningfully to these endeavors?
So I think what we do in Andersen, is to issue newsletters and alerts with respect to any new developments that comes up from the LIRS. Maybe the LIRS wants to provide clarification on certain provisions of the tax laws, or they've introduced new tools, So what we do is to educate our clients to say, okay, this is a new development, and these are new obligations that you have to comply with in fulfilling your tax requirements. So we do that on a constant basis. We also go on TV stations, interviews like this one, to educate members of the public on the new requirements that the LIRS has issued. Beyond that, for example, during the VADES initiative, we went from one company to another to explain what the intent of the VADES regime was all about, what the VADES order was all about. And we did that. We even went to religious bodies, to explain. So we do our bit in enlightening members of the public and taxpayers on new development in the tax space, and we work in conjunction with LIRS and other tax authorities in doing that.
Mr. Adeyemi, we just need to take one more question before we wrap up this discussion. In light of the evolving nature of tax regulations, how does Andersen stay abreast of changes and updates to ensure that the advice provided to clients remains accurate, compliant, and in line with the latest legal requirements?
Yeah, so I think the first thing we do is to make sure that all members of our tax and regulatory unit have a very deep understanding of the provisions, of the existing provisions of the tax law, so that they can advise their clients accordingly. What we also do is to do some form of advocacy. We look at an industry and we see that maybe the tax laws governing the activities in that industry are maybe obsolete and needs to be updated. We engage, the legislature and even the tax authority to bring their attention to this part of the tax laws so that they can possibly make changes. And also, we have a close relationship with LIRS,
That's good.
in ensuring that whatever new introduction that they are making to the implementation of the tax laws are easy for taxpayers to comply.
We've been speaking with Mr. Adeyemi Adediran, partner at Anderson, who has managed to help us paint a clearer picture of roles of consultants and audit firms in tax administration on the Tax Talk today. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, sir.
Thank you for having me.
It's certainly my pleasure. This is where we let him off the hook, and we appreciate him for his contributions on the show today. It's been awesome so far. Our social media handles are still very much available, and you can be part of our community. Our handles scroll throughout the duration of the show. The LIRS is also available on all social media platforms if you have any inquiries on relevant information. Still to come on the Tax Talk, Tax Did It, and a man with the question of the day on Tax Your Brain.
Have you had a hard time with taxes and understanding tax administration in Lagos State and the complex nature of Nigerian tax law? Do you know what agency or tier of government collects the various types of taxes? Have you ever found yourself asking any of these questions? Join us for your favorite program, The Tax Talk, your infotainment program.
Every now and then, questions arise as to what the government does with the revenue it accrues from taxes collected from the taxpayers within the state. Tax Did It was created to help you answer that question. Here we bring to you some of the projects the Lagos State government has been involved in with the aim of improving the quality of life for every Lagosian. Tax Did It is up next.
Governor, the hardworking governor, the very dedicated governor to the people of Lagos, the governor that is so passionate about the interests of people of Lagos.
The infrastructure we're commissioning today is one of the 5 overpasses bridges that we plan on our red line rail alignment. Today, I'm happy to announce to Lagosian that this is the 4th in the series. We have commissioned bridge number 1, bridge number 2, bridge number 3. Here we're commissioning bridge number 4. As a result, we have delivered life-enhancing transport infrastructure that are making life easier for our average Lagosian. Our administration is committed to the goal of achieving a zero carbon in our state, with the expectation of becoming an emission-neutral city by the year 2050. These are the well put together in our 30-year transportational master plan. We will continue to work with the private sector on all of these initiatives to achieve a seamless integrated transport system that is befitting for the commercial economic nerve center of our country, Lagos, the 5th largest economy on the continent of Africa.
Lagos State is a potpourri of wonderful personalities throughout the length and breadth of its landmass. This is why we hit the streets to have a little fun as we tax your brain.
Welcome to Tax Your Brain on the Tax Talk. I am Nifemi. Today's question is, name 3 projects that Lagos State taxes have been used for.
Lagos Brewery, Lagos Water Project, and rehabilitation of school.
Rehabilitation of schools, the Blue Railway line, and road projects.
Waterproof lights. I'm not remember.
Well, I can say water ferry, blue rail line, and building of schools, and bridges, I think, and Lagos Transit.
The rehabilitation of schools, the Lagos Blue Rail line, and the water ferries. Thank you, LRS. Thank you, Tax Talk.
Thank you, Ma. And it's a wrap for Tax Your Brain, but the tax talk continues.
If you're just tuning in, I'm afraid you are late for the party. Do be sure to tune in earlier on the same station next week. In the meantime, follow us on all social media platforms to get information relevant to the show. My name is Oyinlola Saleh, and this has been the Tax Talk. Bye for now.